We are live. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Respect the Craft. This is episode number 158, and I'm joined by the Asgardian beast himself, Kaide Lothbrok. How's it going, sir? Good evening.
It's going good, my man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much again for joining us here. There's definitely a conversation I've been looking forward to, so this should be some fun.
Sounds
So,
good. Let's get into it.
So before we get into the questions, I do have to ask you. I have to ask the question I ask everyone that comes on. You heard the name of the podcast. It's called Respect the Craft. So for you, when you hear that term, the craft, what does that mean for you?
It's the art of what we do. Professional wrestling is the craft. You can call it art, you can call it entertainment, you can call it sport, but it's what we do inside that ring is the craft. You're painting a canvas if you want to call it that. You're creating something out of nothing.
Gotcha. Perfect. So now I like to ask this question because usually people want to know what was that moment that made you fall in love with wrestling? What is it that got you into being a fan? But I like to ask for you, what was that moment that made you decide this isn't just something I'm a fan of or I want to watch? It's something I truly want to be a part of and now step into there as well.
Look, I guess like everybody, we grow up, we all watch it, and I've always wanted to be a wrestler. As long as I can remember as a kid, and there's no one specific moment where I could be like, oh, this is when I knew. I just grew up watching it. I can't remember a time that it wasn't in my life in some aspect. So it was always there. And what kind of made me go like, all right, let's really go for it was the Chris Benoit DVD, as polarizing as that name is now, but it was his DVD, and in the DVD he said he didn't want to be in his 40s and 50s saying what if, and for whatever reason it resonated with me and it just hit me deep down, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to be in my 40s and 50s saying, oh, I should have tried it, and that was kind of my go ahead to be like, all right, let's find a place and let's give this a go.
Gotcha. Perfect. I know again that definitely that shows it's one of those where it's like, why not just try it? The worst that could happen. It's like, okay, we tried it. That's it. Now we move on. But at least, hey, it
Exactly.
paid off. Paid off here. So now this next question I want to talk to you about because this is something I've known you for some time now. I've gotten to see you over the years, and I want to talk to you about your evolution here. I want to talk to you about the change you've made and the growth you've had throughout the years. Because originally I knew you as many know you as, was Stockade. So
Yes.
from that time there, and now seeing you here, definitely a complete, almost different person here. Can you talk to us about what was it for you that made you do this change, that caused this? Like, was there something that was just it clicked the switch? Like, it's time to make that change to continue on with the career.
Um, it really had nothing to do with wrestling. Like a lot of people in this world, and like a lot of people in this world, I suffer. I have mental illness. I have, I was really bad depression, anxiety, and the way I was raised and the way I grew up and the era that I grew up in, you really didn't talk about it. It wasn't something that like, my friends and even my parents, like it was like, boys don't cry, boys, we're men, you get, and I was raised by a very tough man, my stepfather. And as much good as he instilled in me, he's instilled more bad. But that idea of like you're hurt, well, pick yourself up, rub dirt on it, tape it, keep going forward. So didn't really address it. And then as I've gotten older, you know, basically because of my fiance now, she was the one that kind of was like, hey, look, it's okay to talk about what's going on. And in 2016, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. I was basically pushing 400 pounds. I was grossly out of shape, depressed, just the whole nine. And instead of dealing with it, I dealt with it like a lot of people deal with it, which was with alcohol and pain pills. And um, so it was a struggle to get my weight down. And when we hit the pandemic, and the pandemic sucked. I don't think anyone will ever sit there and say it was the best thing ever, but it sucked. But for me, it gave me the opportunity to kind of slow down, sit, and reevaluate everything I was doing. And it started off just by going for walks in the park with my girl. Then the walks turned into jogs, and the jogs turned into running. And then I started learning how to cook because I was sitting at home like everyone else, twiddling my thumbs. And then I learned about, what food is good, what, food essentially it's fuel, it's the gas in the car. And I learned how to basically, what is the good fuel. I'm putting in, instead of regular gas, I'm putting in premium. And then just by that slow process and seeing the weight come off naturally, going to my doctor, which I never had a primary, and that was due to my fiance. She was like, "Look, you keep going on this path, you can beat this diabetes thing," and that was my goal. I didn't do this to get, to get signed, to get looked at. I was like, I don't want to, I don't want to die early. I don't want to lose, I want to live as long as I can, especially now that I'm engaged and I have a stepson. And then once the pandemic, everything started to slowly open up, gyms and stuff. I found my love for the gym, and I found my love for strongman type lifting, and I kind of just took a deep dive into strongman competition stuff, and really found like a love and a passion for like those type of athletes. And like one of the guy I'm wearing on my shirt, Nick Best, is one of the premier strongmen. Eddie Hall, Rob Oberist, Brian Hall, guys like that I, kind of took inspiration of, because like, I'll never be a Tony Nese or a Will Ospreay. I'll never have a six pack. I'm a big guy. I always will be a big guy. I'm a stocky guy, hence the name Stockade. And yeah, and then as far as the evolution from Stockade to Kaide, it's not a far off throw to shorten the name, but when I lost the weight and I was getting in better shape, I was like, you know what, this is my chance to come back with a whole new presentation, a whole new look, a whole new style. And and there was a little bit of, I was trained at NYWC. The name Stockade was given to me. I had a falling out with them, which a lot of people, I'm sure that if they're going to listen to this, know about. And it was also my way of being like, you know what, I'm not going to allow, I'm not going to give any attention to a place that I don't care for anymore. And this was my creation, like everything I did as Stockade was mine, but the name was never mine, so I created my own identity, so to speak. And that's really it, man. It was just done out of necessity from my health and my mental health. And then it translated over into the ring to, to do something different and to show people that I'm not that 400-pound big wrestler, or just this, quote, garbage outlaw deathmatch wrestler, that I'm actually pretty good inside of the ring.
Gotcha. No, I do. I commend you. And again, it is inspirational to hear that story and to hear again, even if it doesn't have to do with the in-ring, just doing it for your own purpose, doing it for your family. It's something where it takes a lot to do that step, to do something like that. So I commend you on doing that. Again, it sounds, and I know anyone listening could definitely get inspired from a story like this. Because again, it's hard to just want to do that, to see that, there is something there that I have to change.
Yeah, man. Look, I mean, for the longest time, I struggled with my weight. I would hit the gym, I would diet, I would do everything. Then I would see minimal results, and then you get frustrated and you go right back into bad habits. And honestly, that's kind of like the biggest thing for me is like I get hit up by people that, whether it be fans or just wrestlers even, or random people I don't even know, whether they find me through Facebook, Instagram, or my YouTube. And, they say like, hey man, you're inspiration. If I don't see myself that way, but if someone tells me like, hey man, I picked up weights, or I, try dieting because of you, like that's awesome. Like if, so that means, it means more than being told like, hey man, I really enjoyed your match. Like the fact that I was able to, change someone's life or whatever the case may be.
Gotcha. No, and again, it's definitely something where it's coming sincere, because seeing again, just even when I was looking, I was like, I wanted to find something like this to show how much of that changed. Not only, again, just the in-ring, but just the person itself, seeing that and getting to see you in the ring now. It definitely, like I said, it looks like a whole different person now.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
Definitely. So it's always a pleasure to see you now, and seeing you're definitely, again, it's almost rejuvenated you in that ring as well.
Yeah,
so it's going to be a pleasure to see you Saturday as well. Let's keep it going, because there is another part I feel like that's also maybe added to this. So I want to talk about the partnership, the relationship here with a veteran in the game here in Foxy here. So how did this come about again? Because I know this was something early in your career you guys had that as well, but to do it again now, how has that been?
Well, I mean, it's been probably the funnest time of my career. How it all came about, like you said, me and her, I got the chance to work with her very, very beginnings of my career. I would say maybe a year or two in. We were in a group called the Black Circle, which was created by my trainer, Mikey Whipwreck. And, things happen, wrestling changes. And I don't know the full details of why Foxy left. It's her story to tell. But, she moved on to some other places. And we always stayed in contact. We were always good friends, more like online friends. But, she would message me every now and then, like, hey, I saw this, or hey, me and Damien, her husband, we saw you do this, like, this is awesome, or be careful doing this. And I want to say it was I think it was about maybe a year or a couple months before the pandemic. I asked her, I was like, yeah, you ever think about coming back, even if, whatever. And she's like, I don't know. She was like 39 at the time, which will kill me probably saying her age. But, she's like, I'm older. She's a mom of 3. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And then the pandemic happened. And then as soon as the pandemic ended, I asked again. And she was like, I don't know. Wrestling's changed so much. And then it was April of last year. I asked her, and she's like, you know what? F it. Sure. Just I'll come back. And originally she was going to come back and only work like one show, like one company with me. And that one company turned into her working everywhere with me. That we, and now it's been for a little over a year, me and her. And, the only person that I've ever enjoyed working with more than her was the late Crusher Dugan, who was my second trainer, my mentor. I mean, Crusher, Mikey trained me, Crusher helped polish me, but I had a much closer personal relationship with Crusher outside of wrestling than I did with Mikey. And that's just because of Mikey living in Pennsylvania. But Crusher really was like a father figure to me. So, I like I said, I've never had as much fun with someone besides Crusher like I am with Foxy. Like I always tell her, I'm like, you're right there. I mean, you'll never be Crusher, but she's right there behind it. And honestly, it's a blast because it's a very brother-sister dynamic. I know a lot of people look at it and think that we're dating or we're a couple, and I get it. But it's a very brother-sister dynamic that we have. And if I'm the if I'm the steak, she's the great side dish. You know what I'm saying? Like she completes the meal. She completes the package. And the hard part for me for a long time was wrestling on shows that weren't deathmatch shows because everyone knew of what I did and what I've done and gone through, and the glass and the concrete and the fire. And how do you feel bad for some 400-pound idiot at the time, now 250, but how do you feel bad for this guy getting beat up if he's gotten up from all this stuff? So she adds we can't really hurt the big guy, but we can hurt the girl type of deal. You know what I'm saying? She's the foil. And on the same token, not breaking, I don't really care breaking having to use a there she is. Me having to use, a 120-pound woman to help me win when I'm, breaking the rules, makes me more look like a shithead anyway, So she's fantastic. She's the wrestling wife. She's the car mom. Like literally, like she takes care of me on the road. Like without her, I probably would have snapped and wound up, murdering somebody in a sheet somewhere in Pennsylvania.
Gotcha. And no, that definitely that adds another element to it. Like now, like I said, like seeing you guys, it's almost like you can't see one without the other now. It shows that just how that's been built and how that bond is. And again, like you see the picture now, it's like it said, it's like it's the package deal now. Like if you want, you're gonna get Kaide, you have to Foxy comes along as well. It comes as the package, and it adds that element to it. Like the act now is not just one; it's the duo here.
Yeah,
So it complements so well to each other.
Yeah, we're like I will not I will not work. I mean, obviously, look, things happen, but for the most part, I won't take a booking without her being along with me. And it's not, it's just this is what we are. And I feel like what we put out there now is something that's not out a lot in especially in indie wrestling. Like even in wrestling in general, the concept of a manager, and she can, people will think valet, but she's not a valet. She's a manager. The concept of a wrestler and a manager is like a lost art. I mean, you kind of see it with like, I guess, Cross and his wife or fiance, whatever she is. But that's, again, I mean, I would lean more towards that type of aspect. Heyman is the advocate. I mean, he's a manager, but that art of great wrestling managers, your Bobby Heenan's, your Jim Cornette's, it's lost. And I think that we bring that something different. You have this beautiful woman walking this tattooed badass to the ring, and one, it helps because young kids and young girls aren't exactly going to be like, oh, let me go get Caide's autograph. They're going to run in horror, and now she brings that element of like, no, it's okay. Look, kind of, we're I don't know, it's very the whole concept was stolen from Dungeons and Dragons type show called Critical Role. There's this big guy called Grog. He's this big, angry, axe-wielding maniac who's actually a big dummy. And then you have the cocky, sexy, smart, wise Vexalia. So we kind of play off of that dynamic where I'm just a angry, brooding brute, and she's the fun, snarky, sneaky, good-looking broad.
Gotcha. No, and it adds that balance now. It adds something where
Exactly.
again that can now the kids and then people are like, hey, I'm scared of him, but okay, she keeps it interesting. There's something there that's like I kind of want to get closer, but I'm kind of scared of him though.
Exactly.
So that adds that to that. But there, so I do want to, before we keep going here, I do want to ask that because you brought up a little bit the deathmatch style for you. Is that something that's almost out of the picture now for you, or would you ever consider getting back into doing more deathmatch? Because I know you recently did hardcore, but would a deathmatch ever be something in your future again?
I mean, you never say never. The problem I have with it now, and I love deathmatch wrestling, but the problem I have with it now is that there's a lot of people that do it just for the sake of doing it. And I'm not saying nobody needs to love or understand every aspect of it, but there's a lot of people out there, and even before that, like when I started doing it, and I got to it later in my career. I started doing it, I would say in 2014 is when it really kicked off, and I never had intentions on doing it. Like I knew of it. I respected the guys. I the craziest things I did that period prior then was cinder blocks, and that was only for big shows. I never really did anything crazy like glass or stuff like that. And as far as being done with it, I mean, I get asked, frequently. I mean, Foxy's kind of been the one to be like, why would I manage you in a death match? This is dumb. My fiance doesn't want me to do it. And to be honest, for me to do it, like the days of me traveling to, Chicago or Detroit or Kansas or all these like odd states, and as awesome as it was, but I'm older now, and it's I don't want to kill myself as much as I used to when I was younger.
Gotcha.
But never say never. I mean, if the right person came down the pipe, or if the right opportunity, and don't get me wrong, I get the itch sometimes, and Foxy and my fiance, they can contest it. There are times where I'm like, I want to do one, I wouldn't do one, and then I kind of just burns out, or I see something and I'm like, oh God, like I don't even want to be a part of this. But again, never say never. I mean, it is the style and the genre, and that got me my little bit of notoriety. And there's guys in there that I would love to work with again because I'm friends with them, or we had great matches. I mean, if a guy like Masada messaged me and was like, yo, bro, let's do one, it'd be hard for me to say no. Schlack, Alex Clone. I mean, there's a few guys that I would definitely be like, all right. But just doing one for the sake of doing one because, some company in the middle of, I don't know, North Carolina or Virginia, like, hey, it's gonna, if it's the right price, sure, but it's not something that I'm focused on.
Yeah.
Like I've tried making a pretty strong push to show people that there's more to me than just that. Like I said in the beginning, like, but again, never say never. Like I don't want to say no, but I don't have any foreseeable plans.
It's not something where you're just like jumping at it either. It's one of those where it can
like,
make sense if there's something there. Like that's something I always felt like deathmatch should be. It's almost like it should be if there's a proper story to it. If there's something there where it's like it has that meaning to have the deathmatch instead of just let's do it because
it's
for just fun.
yeah. I mean that's one of my big issues with it is that it used to be a build to something special, and now. And I've done tournaments are one thing. Tournament shows are one thing. You know where you're going to get to. But I've been on shows where the opening match is using light tubes, and then it becomes like, what are we going to do? Like, there's been some extreme lengths. Like, I mean, I know the incident at XPW with the syringe in the penis thing. As And again, look, I mean, I'm not going to sit there. I've been on shows with guys that have taken dildos on a sawzall. Like I've seen some stuff where I'm like, all right, we're upset about this, but we're not upset about that. Like, and then again, it's art, it's free, it's creative. If
Yeah, of course.
if two guys are like, hey, look, or two girls, or a guy and a girl, whatever, like, hey, I'm okay with you doing this to me, and then that's it. I have friends that work for XPW that are like, yo, come down, come talk come talk. We'll talk. We'll introduce you to Rob Masada, Alex. It's just, I don't know. It's just not something that I'm like, do I really want to go back down that path and then get known for that again? And I wish everyone the best. The GCW is one of the biggest companies going today on the indies, and I know they made their mark in deathmatch, but now you can see they're kind of slowly not getting away from it, but it's definitely, at least in my opinion, it seems like it's toned down a lot of what they're doing.
Yeah.
CZW has done a complete 180. I know everyone likes to crap all over CZW, but CZW's kind of done a 180, and they do the death matches at certain times. You got H2O, which is Tremont's company. That's a mix of a lot of young guys trying to make their name, a lot of his students. So, he's doing his thing. And then you got ICW, which, shows a unique presentation with the chains. And then there's, other companies all around. But, there's plenty of fresh face young guys out there that are going to want to make their name. And if somebody, if a young guy wants to work me and I know of them and they want to do one, I would be probably more lenient on doing it then to kind of pass the torch type of thing than just do it to get my own like ego in the way. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. No, and again, that's commendable as well, because that's something where it's like, again, that adds an element to it. Because now it's like, okay, this kid wants to test here. Let's do it.
Yeah.
That adds something instead of just the, hey, yeah, we want to book you and you. That's it. It's like, there's something.
And look, I'm not going to BS. I'm 36. I did this deal up in Binghamton, and for what I've done, it was very tame. And I was feeling it maybe a day or two later. And I know it's compounded from the years of what I've done, but I used to do 2 to 3 deathmatch shows a week, and wake up on Sunday, go have a bottle of Jack, and then get back to doing it. So Father Time is that's the one guy that'll never do the job is Father Time. So I'm gonna job out to him like everyone else has. It's just might be a little quicker for me since I've done a lot of dumb shit.
Gotcha. But no, that's something I was going to bring up as well, because I want to talk about not only the match, but just what it meant, because we were going to touch on that matchup as well, because we, especially just because of the post as well, just the photo after the show, just for you, just the complete package of it, what that meant to be a part of that show, what the match meant to you, and just getting to say goodbye to the building.
It's funny, like everyone to me, it's it's kind of stupid to me. Like I laugh. Like look, I mean, like I love Excite to death. I love Moose. I love all the guys, Sean Carr, Axel, Loke. It was weird because it was almost as if the company was done. Like this was our last show ever. Like that was the vibe I was getting. Like, are we done? Or
that's how it sounded. Like I saw a lot of the marketing for it.
Yeah.
I'm like, so that's it. And then I saw dates announced for the next few shows.
So Johnny Moose is I love the prick to death. He's one of my groomsmen. He's very dramatic, and anything negative is the end of the goddamn world. He has another building. He's had another building. We lost that building. That building was special because he was one of the first. I don't want to say first because I'm sure somebody's done it somewhere, but he was one of the first in the, I would say, East Coast that started running out of a mall, and it was very successful. The pandemic hit. It took a shit like everything else did, but then we built it back. And look, he didn't lose it because he didn't pay the rent. He didn't lose it because he's getting, they're kicking him out because of he did X, Y, or Z. The mall got sold to a bigger company, and now they're putting in these, big corporate stores. Like they opened a Dick's Sporting Goods right next to us. They opened a brewery. They're opening a Panera. It's becoming, they're trying to revitalize malls, which, I mean, the malls are dying anyway, slowly.
Yeah.
But that's what it was. It wasn't anything other than that. But yeah, did it suck? Yeah. Did it feel like losing a home? Yeah. But the show is going to keep going. So it was weird because, again, it felt like we were done, but we weren't done. So it was kind of a weird vibe. And, I'm very much, I'm one of those like, all right, look, it's, well, fucking we'll just move the dog and pony show down the road. Like, what are we, nothing to cry about. For the students, they were losing a school, but they have another one 40 minutes away. He's looking for a new building in the area. So I think things are going to be fine. I just think it was the emotion and the fact that, it was home for X amount of years. As far as the match, Axel is one of my good friends. That's his girl, Maria. So it was fun to have her out there. And we were part of a group called The Dying Breed, which is myself, Axel, Robert Cook, and HC Loke from ECW and Ring of Honor. And we were, a very successful stable. We were legitimate friends in and out of the ring. And it was a fun match. Moose called me and was like, hey, I got an idea. And he told me what it was. And at first I was like, man, I don't, I'm like, it's just kind of like me and Foxy were on this really great run of having really, really great matches. Not that I didn't think this was going to be a great match, but it just felt like, I was like, I don't know, man. Last match at the X, and it's gonna be me and Axel, who's super over, and we're really over. Like, I feel like it's just kind of like, I don't know. And but he's like, this is what I want. I was like, all right, whatever. I don't think. And he was like, I want you guys to have like a brawl. I was like, well, screw it. If we're gonna go out, we're gonna go out. Let's go out with a bang. And then I think the craziest thing we did really were the Legos, which I don't think the crowd really has seen them there. So that was cool. Having guys like Johnny Cashmere. And HC Lope, like, that was really creative and really great match. It was awesome, man. I mean, some fans have said it was match of the night. If they did, that's awesome. Again, if it was the last show ever for Excite, I think I'd be a little bit more like emotional and like, oh my God. But it was the last show in the X. So of course it's shitty because it's the last show at the X. But Excite's not over. Like we have a huge festival happening the 5th, 6th, and 7th. I believe the 5th, Kurt Angle's going to be there signing autographs. The 6th, Cardona. And then I think the 7th, I think he announced it already. The 7th, they're going to have Kurt Hawkins there as well. So Hawkins and Myers and Cardona will be wrestling and doing autographs. Kurt's Angle's only going to be doing that. But it's this huge festival that brings in like 10,000 people a day. It's called Speedy Fest.
Okay.
There ain't no 10,000 people watching wrestling. I mean, there's concerts and stuff. Trust me, nobody's coming for 10,000 people to see fucking any of us. But no, it's not done.
Yeah.
But again, so I guess emotional wise, it sucks to see the building go, but it's not the end of Excite. So I mean, it's kind of like, all right, last one here. I mean, look. I've gotten to wrestle in the ECW arena, which was tremendous for me. I've wrestled in so many buildings that companies lost a building, moved to another building. It never really got attached to a building because, it's wrestling. It's not like, there's no indie building out there that I know of that is like, I guess maybe Pro Wrestling Magic's or whatever that building is. They call the Mecca just because every company runs there.
Yeah, now this is that's basically become the new almost Elks Lodge, like it was in Queens. That everyone
it's the new fucking streetwalker. Everyone's taking a ride in that building. But if that building shut down for whatever reason, I don't know what guys maybe break down. It's a weird thing to be upset about losing a building. I think unless it's you don't know where you're gonna go. I would see that aspect of it. But he had a plan B. I just. It's just if you ever meet Johnny Moose, it's gloom and doom. He's a half glass empty guy consistently.
Gotcha. No, I guess if anything, it's one of those where it's like the end of a chapter, if you will. Like this, that's what this photo especially shows. It's like, okay, it's that moment of like, well, this is the end here.
Yeah, I look thrilled there.
It's
that's me sitting there going, can we please wrap this up so I got my 4-hour drive home, please? But no, it sucks. The fans, we all love the building. He's got another building 40 minutes down the road. He'll find another building. But it did suck. But at the same time, in the back of your mind, you're like, all right, but it's not the end. That'd be like if somebody was like, hey, Vince, Madison Square Garden's closing down. You're like, oh, that sucks. Well, we'll go run, the PNC Bank Arena or whatever. Doesn't stop the show. So
it keeps going. And again, that's at least that's the best thing about it as well. It isn't the end of Excite. It's still going to be going, and there's more shows to come. So stay tuned for that, guys. But there is another match that it's confirmed for this Saturday. I want to talk to you about. It is going to be this tag team matchup here, as is going to be yourself and Jack Tomlinson going head to head with Eric James and Bryce Donovan at Victory Pro Wrestling presents Battle in Bayshore. Your thoughts going into this one here, and just what's been going on, especially in the in the main event scene with Eric James and everything with that going on at VPW?
I mean, I really don't have many thoughts. I did what I did last show, not for Jack or any reason. I did it because, quite honestly, and I really don't care what anyone in VPW thinks. I think VPW could be something really special, but I think it's very toxic with a lot of these guys. I think Radio has his head up his ass, or he's got his head up someone else's ass. Um, there's potential for this place to be a big deal on Long Island. Long Island is definitely, in my opinion, craving a big indie company. I mean, you got Outlaw, which is, I really wouldn't classify Outlaw as a Long Island company. I mean, he's out there doing. I mean, he just did something in Jersey recently, but they're out there doing big things. You have NYWC, which is pretty much just a student promotion. For the most part, they're not really going to go out anywhere. They have a few guys. There's like a guy like Papadon, Dan Barry, who's super talented. But for the most part, it's guys that usually just stay there and don't really go outside of that bubble. You got Creative Pro, which is kind of the same thing. You got your few guys that are going out, and then you have a lot of students. I mean, look, Creative Pro, in my honest opinion, is the premier school on Long Island. I mean, in the past, 5 years, they produced probably more talent that's been on TV than I would say a vast majority of schools on the East Coast.
Yep.
And not to mention that you got, and I'm not singing their praises. I don't train there. I'm just, I like to speak the truth. You got Pat Buck, who's the top producer in AEW, Hawkins or Myers, who's in Impact. You got MJ, the AEW World Champion from there, but back to VPW, there needs to be a regime change. I think, there's been, as talented as Eric is, he's been there for a while. And I've been there, for a few years now, but I've never really gotten my due. And, look, if it's not your goal to be the champion of a company, then I don't know what you're doing there. I don't care what title it is, but everyone wants to be a champion. Jack is someone I saw a lot of potential in early on. And that's why I saw it after Jack when the Wolves of Odin were going on in VPW. Jack was someone that I was like, just like Dante, I see a lot of potential. And I told Jack, both in and behind the scenes, in the ring and behind the scenes, I should say, look, these people, the fans at the end of the day, they're gonna love you or they're gonna hate you, but it's about you. And I think he's finally starting to see that. And as far as Bryce, I mean, look, both him and Eric, they in my opinion, they treat wrestling like a joke, like the singing and the dancing and coming out there, and it's not for me, man. Like I said in the interview I did at VPW, I sit in that locker room and I see a bunch of boys and girls, little boys and little girls, and I can't tell you the difference between who is who, and that's the straight shoot. When I broke into wrestling, I got my ass handed to me by a lot of the vets, and I never complained, I never bitched. I'm not going to cry that I got bullied because it's professional wrestling. And a lot of these guys now run around thinking that, wrestling's for everybody and wrestling needs to be this. Wrestling's wrestling, man. Wrestling doesn't owe anyone anything. Wrestling doesn't open doors for anybody. We're all, you make it and you cut your teeth and you earn your stripes. Nobody hands anything to you. And that's my problem with VPW. Like, it's just, a lot of these kids are like, oh, I should just be handed things. It's like, no, I don't care. All these places that a lot of these guys are wrestling, your Beyonds and your CCWs and wherever else, I've been there. I've been there before all of them. I've been there at the highest of the highs for those companies. I've been at the lowest of the lows, and it doesn't impress me. And what I'm going to do now in VPW, whether anyone likes it or not, is I'm going to make people earn their respect, and I'm going to make people earn their stripes, and that's it. That's really all it is. Eric's a hell of a wrestler. Eric deserves to be champion, but you know what? I had Eric beat on 2 separate occasions, and I know that, and he knows that, and he got lucky. And that's all it is to it. I'm tired. I'm old. I ain't got time for bullshit anymore. And I sit in that, and legit, you can ask anybody in that locker room. You can ask, fucking Adam. You can ask Anthony Gangone. I sit in the corner. I sit by myself with Foxy, and I don't deal with any of these guys because that's who I am. And I go out and I do business, and then that's it. And that's what it is. It's a business, and that's what I'm here to do.
No, I got you, and I have heard that, and I've seen it. I've seen it personally. You guys are, again, just there in the corner, and it's one of those where you're there to do a job. You're there to do what you need to do, and it's been successful. Now, again, Saturday, Eric James and Bryce Donovan are going to learn that possibly the hard way.
100%. Look, it's not personal, it's business, and I've I am from that mindset of I don't like this idea, like I said, of safe spaces in wrestling, or wrestling needs to be inclusive, or wrestling needs to be safe. I don't understand it. I don't get it. You can whatever, you can call me old, you can call me the old man yelling at the cloud, whatever it is. Like, it's just, this is pro wrestling, and I don't care who you are, what you identify as, what you don't identify as, who you sleep. It's wrestling. When you get inside that ring, all that bullshit, all that political nonsense, all that agenda shit goes out the window, and I don't care. I don't care if tell me you're LBGQXY. You're gonna get punched in the face when you step inside of the ring with me, and that's what I'm trying to, and that's what Foxy's trying to bring back. There's no bullying. There's no, oh, he beat me up. Now you step inside the ring, you're gonna catch an ass beating from me, and you may beat me, but you're gonna still catch an ass beating regardless.
No, definitely. Again, it's bringing the legitimacy back to it. It's bringing
Exactly.
that something of which I've seen again, and I call him the boss there. Adam Kane has felt it. He's gone toe to toe with you, and he's felt.
Adam's a hell. Listen, Adam. I look. I'm not gonna break any. Everyone knows what wrestling is and what wrestling isn't. I have respect for Adam. Do I agree with what he does inside of the ring and who he does business with? Not exactly, but that's his deal. I'm not gonna knock him. But he, after the deal happened, especially with what happened with Eric, he came up to me and he shook my hand and said, "I respect you," and he earned my respect that day. He earned my respect the day that we stepped and went toe to toe. Even though he got lucky and things happened and he got the W, but I know at the end of the day he realized who he was in the ring with. And sometimes a lot of people got to realize that wins and losses, yeah, they mean something, but having the respect, or earning someone's respect, means a lot more than just a win and a loss.
Definitely, I definitely agree with that. And again, it's one of those where that's adding that true for what this is, the craft of it all. It's having that respect of those that have paved the way before you, have done this, and have made it something where we all want to be a part of as well. So
Exactly.
makes sense there. So now that I want to ask this, because we talked about earlier getting in, we talked about all that, but I want to now talk about if there is a moment for you where, when you're in this already, when you're in the business, that made you decide this is what you want to continue to do. That was that moment, like, I made the right choice. I decided to, hey, I don't want to have the what if. Was there that moment that now it's like, I made the right choice now?
I mean, I think from the first time I ever stepped foot into the training school, um, look, I mean, I've had my ups and downs. I've had, I'm going to quit. I'm going to retire. And I'm not going to, listen, I'm not stupid. I know when I do finally call it quits, I'm just going to walk off into the sunset, and that's going to be it. I'm not expecting a huge goodbye. And, but the moment where I was like, this is for me, is, like I said, I mean, the moment, I stepped inside of a ring, um, which wasn't for like 3 months during my training, but just the being around it, just the atmosphere. And, I, it's going to sound weird because, you always hear from a lot of people, especially vets or guys that have made it. Like, if you're not in this to make money, or if you're not in this to go to WWE, or you're not in this to be headlining WrestleMania, then why are you doing it? Yeah, I get that. But I never wanted to do anything other than just wrestle. And listen, man, I've wrestled in front of thousands of people. I've wrestled in front of 6,000 people in Buffalo, New York for Black Craft Wrestling. I've gotten to go to Mexico. I've gotten to go to Trinidad. I've gotten to wrestle in Canada. I've gotten to go to states and towns that I didn't know existed, or towns that never existed, states I never thought I would visit. I've got to meet and wrestle some of my favorites and my idols. And, like, I don't do this to get rich. I didn't do this to get rich. I didn't do this to get rich and famous. If I was able, or I am able, or if I ever do get the chance to make money and pay my bills and take care of my family because of this, then great. But I wanted to wrestle, and I don't care if it was dude. Like, I've done shows in front of 3 people and 50,000 chairs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I go in as hard as it is when there's 3 people or there's 3 million. It's just, this is what I love. This is what I'm passionate about. This is, wrestling. Pro wrestling is what I love. And there's the reality of it is, and the truth is, there does come a time when that's going to stop. And that does, that worries me, because I don't know what my life is without wrestling inside of a ring. And it's a hard thing to really, confront, but I'm going to keep going till the wheels fall off, whether anyone likes it or not. And trust me, there's a lot of people that really hope those wheels fall off fucking probably right about now.
Again, that's something where that should just motivate you more. That pushed you to
Exactly.
keep going and keep it.
Listen,
But
man, wrestling is it's the best thing in the world. You know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, wrestling's this, and this." Wrestling ain't anything, man. Pro wrestling doesn't make anyone into an asshole. Doesn't make anyone do drugs. Doesn't make anyone this or that. It's the people inside of the business that are shady and shitty. And you know, you got people that will sit there and tell you 1 minute they're your best friends and they love you, and the moment you do something that they want, you're the biggest piece of garbage in the world. Or you got people that have your back, and then you know the next moment they're like, "Yeah, man, screw X, Y, and Z. Don't screw those guys." And then the next blink of an eye, they're back hanging and banging and working with those guys. You know, so the thing about me, man, is I've always been honest and I've always been true to who I am, and that's just my own issue. You know, I don't speak before I think before I speak. Whatever, so I can't even talk anymore. I've been hitting heads, but you know, pro wrestling is the greatest thing in the world to me. It's everything you could ever ask for. And the people that sit there and say, "Oh, wrestling's this and this," it's like, nah, man, it's not wrestling. It's the people that are involved in it that are ruining it.
yeah. No, I could definitely agree with that. And again, just seeing certain things, it's always like, yeah, it gives it the bad rep because they put it as the whole blanket is just that. It's just
Of
what
course,
wrestling is. It's like when you really see the things, it's like, no, it's not wrestling. It's a lot of just unfortunately some bad apples in it that ruin it for everybody and add that label to it. And it's
there's a
like,
lot of grown men that haven't graduated high school, man. That's exactly what it is. A lot of
yeah,
drama for a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people that are not making money.
no. And here we go though to go more in the positive route. Well, more of a fight route here. Adam Kane saying, "Let's run it back one day."
Anytime, big man. Anytime.
And of course, right behind him is Silky, just throwing the ooze there because he wants to add more fire to it. So there you go.
Yeah,
Again,
anytime, dude. I will fight anybody, whether I like them or hate them, in or out of the ring, shoot or not shoot. There's not a single person I won't go inside that ring with, and that's just the truth. You know, I've wrestled some of the very best, and I've wrestled some of the very worst, and I'm willing to do it with anybody. It's just about having, you know, if I can make one person in that crowd go home and go, yeah, I know wrestling's supposed to be BS and fake and da, 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 but that guy Kaide, he really punched that guy in the face. Then I did my job, and it's probably because I really did punch somebody in the face. You know?
again, it's adding the realism back to it. It's adding something to it. Well, sometimes it is just it's punching someone in the face, but
Some people need
let's
it.
yes, definitely. But now let's talk about that. Then again, you said you're willing to fight anyone. Is there a list? Is there just a person? Is there someone that you do want to face that you haven't had a chance to yet?
I mean, currently, I made it fairly known to a lot of people. He knows about it. I've had people try to make it happen. Homicides tried to make it happen. Um, Max the Impaler, James Mitchell has tried to make it happen and push for it. I very, very, very much would like to share the ring with Trevor Murdoch. I got to meet him at an indie show in bumfuck PA. I don't even remember where. He was working with someone else. I was working with someone else, and he watched my match. And this was before the NWA really started. Like it was just in their infancy stages. Um, and he came up to me and he was like, "Man, I don't know why they didn't put us together." He goes, "We would have tore this place down." And ever since then, I was just like, I want to work this guy. And then watching him in the NWA, and you know, if anyone's ever had a chance to see what he's done there compared to what he did in WWE, it is night and day. I mean, he is so nose to the grindstone, very old school,
Yep.
very very in your face, smash mouth, my type of wrestling, the wrestling that I like. And I I mean, he's the top of the list. And I don't care if it's at the NWA. I don't care if radio puts a ring in his backyard and it's just me and him. Like I very much would love to get in the ring with him. Aside from him, I mean, Eddie Kingston is a guy that mentored me when I was very young in my career. I've been very fortunate. Anytime Eddie, if I ever have the opportunity to get to share the ring with Eddie again, that'd be great. But there's really far and few between guys that I'm like, man, I really, really would like, I guess, Moxley, just because of his connection to deathmatch wrestling. He's one of the few guys that I never got to get into the ring with, deathmatch or non-deathmatch. Danny Moff, always, 100%. Anytime I've gotten to work with Moff, it's been amazing. But I mean, I can sit here and rattle names off. You know,
of
I sit
course.
here and I really think. But at the top of it, and off the top of my head, it would be Murdoch.
Yeah.
That's Trevor Murdoch is my white whale, I guess you can say right now.
Gotcha. There's one I feel like, because I saw a post you did the other day about wanting to fight, especially just bigger. Those guys that fight that style, like that rugged, just fight that ballroom style almost, barroom style. And I feel like there's one guy that I've gotten to see him a lot, especially working with him at Callus, that I feel like you two might have a great just fight and match in there. Ron Bass Jr.
I've heard of the name. I don't know why I can't picture a face, but I have heard the name. Dude, like I said, I will go. Dude, I'll go anywhere. I'm a call girl. Somebody calls me and says, "Hey, we got this guy and he wants to fight." I'm there. I mean, that's I make no bones about it. Pay me what I ask. We're good to go. Don't dick me over. I'll come in. I'll do my thing. If we can do business after, great. If not, we'll, down the road. But I put that up there because I want, now where I'm at size wise, I want to challenge. It's a challenge for me. Like I want to be able to wrestle everybody and anybody. But there is a lack for some reason of like Vader monster guys. I mean, every area has like one or two, like in the Northeast, you got like, you got your TJ Marconis, you got your Vince Steels. Maybe there's a one, I wouldn't even, I mean, I guess we could put Adam in that category as well. But there, like I said, that's really off the top of my head how I can pinpoint. I mean, Moff, I guess, but like those monsters, those guys where like they don't have to be body guys, they don't have to be jacked up huge, they're just big, huge guys. And I don't know, like just for some reason, wrestling all these young kids, the Dantes, who I think is super talented, or the Jacks, or even the Eric James, like guy, or the Sean Carrs, or whoever. Like there was a guy in Connecticut that I was hoping to do business with, but the company kind of closed down for a bit. Bull Dread, who's a big deal in Connecticut. He's one of those old school nose to the grindstone type guys. But for some reason, man, there's not a lot of big guys out there. And if I could put them all in one ring and just have them come at me one after another, probably be in my glory. Just throwing hands with some tough big hosses.
Gotcha. No, definitely. Again, that's why I was like, when I saw that, I was like, especially seeing him again this weekend, I was like, yeah, Ron and Kaide could definitely do something. I'm gonna see it, because I like to do those. I might do a little graphic after this, and hey, if someone wants to book it, pay these guys money and let's see that fight happen.
Yeah, so, dude, like I said, man, I'm down to fight anybody. I've gotten to fight some of the toughest guys. Your Necro Butchers, your Masadas, your Danny Moffs, like your Alex Colognes, like guys that are literally like will bite your eyes out of your skull if they have to. So, but yeah, it's just. I've tried talking. Listen, I've tried getting into radios here about hey man, what about this guy? What about that guy? What about this girl? What about that? He doesn't listen to me. So if it was up to me, VPW would be a completely different roster. It'd be a lot of monsters like the girl Sammy Chaos. I think she tried. Is. We've pushed. I think she is money. I think she's got potential to be a big star. I think she's unique. I said, and it's funny. I said the same thing. I'm not taking credit for Max, but I remember meeting Max when they were very young in their career, and very good friends with Max. And now, they're out there killing it in Japan. I'm not saying I have an eye for talent, but sometimes I just get a feeling for some people. I'm like, I don't know. I think there's something there, and I think she has it. And I'm not just saying it because I like her as a person. I just look at her. I'm like, there's something there that's not come out yet. And I'm like, if it comes out, she's going to be on a tear, and I hope so. And she's one that I've told radio numerous times, like, yo, get on this fucking boat before this thing takes off, because you're going to regret it.
No, that's definitely a name we've pushed as well. Sammy, just there's something there, especially when I had her on the podcast a few days ago. I talked to her about that as well. Like there is something where just the size, what she brings into that ring, it's you don't see it like that.
So, yeah, I feel the same way about Adam. I know Adam's your boy. I know Silky and all that, but I think Adam's got a load of potential. I think there's a lot of unmolded raw clay, and I think when he finds and figures it out, I think Adam's gonna be a pretty big deal. He's got a lot of talent, and then I there's a few people out there I'm like, keep an eye on it. I'll be honest, I think Dante in I would say maybe in 2 or 3 years, I think Dante is gonna be one of the top independent wrestlers in the States. It wouldn't shock me. He's a hard worker. He's super talented. And I think Jack too. I think Jack's got to, there's a few people at at VPW that I'm like, man, if the right thing happens, they're gonna go on a tear.
No.
And we'll see, man. I just, that's my goal. That was my goal for coming to VPW originally, was to help, give back. I did so much on Long Island for so long, and then I was kind of not wrestling on the island for a few years. And then when I got asked to come to VPW, I was like, I'm going to try to help establish something new and give back, not give, I guess give back, but I didn't look at it that way, but like try to build some new guys and build a new territory basically for guys to have work in. And, now I'm pissed off because it didn't work because nobody listened to me. So now I'm going to take it out on everybody.
Well, again, you had good intention, but then it's one of those where you tried. Now it's time to just say,
look,
make it work for yourself.
There's that quote. You can die a hero, or you can live long enough to become the villain. And that's essentially what's going on here. I'm not dying to be no one's hero. So I guess I'll just be the villain.
There you go. So, Kaide, I don't want to take up too much more of your time because it's truly been a pleasure. And again, I know you're a busy guy, so I want to get you back to your reptiles as well. So before we start wrapping this up, I do want to talk about that because I am also a snake lover. So I want to talk to you. For you, what got you into the love for reptiles and everything like that?
So, I mean, I think I just kind of fell in love with them, honestly, TV. My dad, my real father, my biological father, him and another guy had a small time reptile business that he ran out of our house, like a wholesale. And, that was like really my first introduction to like, all these animals. And then as I got older, I books and stuff like that. And then honestly, the crocodile hunter, Steve Irwin, all of a sudden you're seeing this crazy dude jump on crocodiles and alligators and catching all these venomous snakes. And it just, like it just drew me to him. And then, this has always been something that I've wanted as a kid. Like my own, this is, my man cave, my office, my reptile room, whatever you want to say. Yeah, I mean, I always had reptiles, never to this abundance. But when I moved into this house with my fiance, well, but prior to that, I was kind of like people would call me like, hey, I got my daughter has this, my son has that. They can't take care of it. Can you take it? And I was taking things in and rehoming them. And it just kind of spiraled into that to where now, like, I'll get phone calls from, pet stores, people that have pets that don't want them anymore, or people will send me emails, and I pretty much take anything in and I rehome it just because people look at reptiles, they don't like, it's not a dog or a cat or a rabbit, or people don't really realize there's how can you have an emotional connection with this monster or this thing that has no it doesn't have a personality. Every single one of my animals has its own personality, its own little quirks. And yeah, man, I mean, I'm right now I got like 7 snakes, 6, 7, 8 lizards, 2 frogs, and a few of them were rescues that were not allowed to be adopted out because my fiance or my stepson fell in love with them. But yeah, man, I mean, this is like I was saying earlier, like I don't know what's going to happen after wrestling. This is probably going to be what I'm going to be doing. I mean, my YouTube channel, my last reptile video, which blew my mind, has over 5,000 views, which I know doesn't sound like a lot compared to what's out there, but I was like not doing anything other than showing my reptiles. So that one kind of like blew my mind. And then we went to a local expo and people were like, hey man, I love your videos. I was like, oh man, thanks. Like, what match did you like? He's like, match? He's like, no man, your reptile videos. I was like, oh shit, like people know me from wrestling. And so it's kind of like, now the goal is to bridge the wrestling with the reptiles and the reptiles with the wrestling and try to bring those two worlds together. Like at my merch tables, I have a little container. It says Reptile Rescue Fund, and legit everything that goes in there goes into bedding, food, lighting for the animals that I adopt out. I don't do it for money. I just do it because I love them. But probably when I'm done wrestling, my stepson kind of gave me the little iggy. He's like, why don't you do your own breeding? Like, this is fun. Like, you could do this. So, probably in when the wrestling's done, you'll probably see, I don't know, Valhalla Reptiles or whatever stupid Viking name I'll give it. But that's probably the plan. But yeah, man, this is, wrestling, reptiles, working out, and cooking. That's That's my life, dude.
Gotcha. No, and again, that's perfect. And again, I when I saw that, I was like, to me, I love snakes. I love all that, but unfortunately, the mom's not too much of a fan, so I can't have my own here. But
Nah,
every
dude,
time I see it, I'm like, oh, that's just awesome.
my dude.
There's
Anytime you wanna stop by here for a VPW show, I'll gladly show you everybody. My door is open. Everyone. My fiance has friends and family over, or friends, and their kids come in here, and it's cheaper than going to the zoo. It doesn't charge anybody anything. So
Gotcha. There you go. But again, brother, I don't want to take up too much more of your time here. So before I do let you go, one final question as always. So for Kaide Lothbrok here, what is the end goal?
just keep going until I'm fulfilled, man. And I don't know what that is. You know, to do this as long as I physically can and to have fun. That's the key. You ain't having fun doing this, ain't no reason doing this. And right now I'm having a lot of fun. So till I'm not having fun, I'm gonna keep doing this.
Perfect. There you go. That's the best way to put it there. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you go follow Kaide on all of his social media right there. Follow him on Instagram right there. Follow him on Twitter right there. Links will be in the description down below as well. Also, to that YouTube channel, like you mentioned earlier, will be down there as well. Kaide, thank you again so much for joining me here. I'll be seeing you Saturday. And to everyone else, thank you as always for joining us. And don't forget to be wise, be genuine, be real, be better people, respect the craft. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.